Welcome back to News Talk here on News Channel 8. Joining us now here on the program, Mike DeBonis, a reporter. He covers Capitol Hill for the Washington Post. Great to have you back. Good to see you.
Thanks, Bruce.
To give you a sense of how well Mike DeBonis covers Capitol Hill for the Washington Post, this is the edition of the paper I prefer. It is the traditional version of the paper, and both of the main stories on, can I show you on camera 3 or no? There we go. Both of the main stories right here and right here. Byline by Mike DeBonis, one on Iran and one on the Planned Parenthood issue. We're good to have you back. We're going to talk about the Planned Parenthood videos and about whether Congress and the White House are headed for another, and whether we, along for the ride, unwillingly are, whether we're all collectively headed for another shutdown, showdown. Talk to us first, Mike, if you would, about the videos that were taped in an undercover fashion, some people who work for Planned Parenthood, and what concerns have been raised by these images.
Sure. The videos quite literally came out of nowhere. They were posted to the internet about 2 weeks ago, the first of the 4 we've seen so far. They depict what the Planned Parenthood executives in concern considered to be private conversations with who they thought were biotech businessmen who were interested in doing fetal research, and they were in search of research specimens. And in this case, that means tissue from aborted fetuses. And Planned Parenthood, which by most independent statistics, their affiliates conduct 1 out of every 3 abortions in the nation. They're obviously, if you are in search of fetal tissue, you would talk to Planned Parenthood, and that's the subtext of these videos. And what they depict, and at least what the edited videos show, are, executives speaking very matter-of-factly, and in some cases, most people would say cavalierly, about what are aborted fetuses, the fact that their internal organs, their body parts, and how to preserve them in such a way during the abortion process in order to use them later for research. And there's also a aspect of this in terms of the compensation. There were what appeared to be negotiations over money, and that's important because there's a federal law that says you cannot be selling these tissues, these organs, et cetera, for profit. You can recoup your costs, but you can't come out ahead at the end of the process. And the producers of these videos say that this shows that they're making money somehow on this, and that's something that Planned Parenthood has very vigorously denied. Remind me the name of the organization that it appears is responsible for these videos, and how much, if anything, do we know about this organization? Sure. It's called the Center for Medical Progress. There has been some controversy that when they filed for their tax-exempt status, they misrepresented what the purpose of the organization was. It wasn't shown to be something involving activism, anti-abortion activism, or anti-fetal tissue research activism. They had posed as this biotech company, but it is, the main character, the protagonist with this group is a anti-abortion activist of long standing. He's a young man, but he's been in this for a long time, and he says that he spent 3 years collecting these videos, and he's now releasing them one by one in a very deliberate move to sort of change the national debate about abortion, Planned Parenthood, and fetal tissue research. The debate, obviously, the debate about abortion rights, reproductive freedom, what many regard as killing, it's been going on for a very long time, and critics have long, opponents of abortion rights have long sought to arouse the public. And I guess the question is, to what extent does the edited nature of these videos make it hard for folks who simply want to see what transpired in these conversations to reach a judgment about whether, beyond what you have already referenced, the cavalier conversation and whatever. I mean, when things are edited, you're deprived the ability to know the full story, obviously. So to what extent are we sort of grasping to know what really went down? Well, you know, I've watched. Even I have not watched. They have put the full unedited video up, and I haven't sat down for 45 minutes or in some cases and watched the whole thing. I have, you know, moved to various parts of the video, and most of these videos are, you know, conversations that are happening at a fairly technical level. And you know, you can tell that there's a bona fide belief that these are people who are interested in doing real research. You know, what it appears to me is you know, these videos are meant to try and change the national perception of fetal tissue research, because polls have very consistently shown that Americans favor fetal tissue research. They want the cures for Alzheimer's, the cures for whatever chronic diseases that this research promises. But this one, you know, this is a very deliberate attempt to say, well, this is the other side of that. We are talking about body parts from fetuses. We're talking about livers. We're talking about hearts. We're talking about, you know,
Sure.
Very graphic things. And, you know, a lot of this gets couched in euphemism. A lot of this gets talked about in the language that if you consider legal abortion to be legal infanticide, then you find that very disturbing, and you want people talking about these in a whole different set of terms, and that's what this is about.
Time permitting, we'll talk in the moments ahead about the impact all this is having on Capitol Hill and where we think this may go as it continues to play out. I want to ask you, Mike, about the potential for the White House, this Democratic president and this now Republican-controlled Congress to hit a stalemate again, one that would lead agencies to run out of money and force federal government workers to stay home. To what extent is this an expectation for the September-October period?
It depends on who you talk to. If you talk to the Republican leaders, they don't really want to talk about it, and they tamp all this down like it's, you know, we'll get through it. We always have issues, and we'll work through them. But in the past, what's prompted shutdown threats have been fairly workaday, you know, political issues: Obamacare, immigration. Abortion is a different issue. I mean, we're talking about which, for the people, the true believers who on either side of this issue, is a very existential life or death issue, and it's on the other side, it's an issue of basic freedom for women. These are very substantial and foundational things that if people go to war on here, that there's no easy compromise to be had, other than the one that has basically been in place in American politics for 30 years, which is that there is no federal funding for abortion, but Planned Parenthood has access to these other federal programs. If that compromise can no longer hold, then it's hard to see what the new compromise might be.
And correct me if I'm wrong, there's another issue too, and that is the desire of President Obama to bust through the sequester caps for purposes other than defense spending.
That's right.